Hey everybody, Yuval Ron here, and I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about the mixing of the album. Somewhere in this universe, somebody hits a drum. Because this project is something which I've never quite done before in this order of magnitude. It was a new thing for me, at least for those scales, because of course I mixed some songs before, especially for other people, but even for myself, I've never done such a big thing before. It was really epic in the proportions. And the reason was that, at least in some of the tunes, it reached about 50 or even more tracks per tune. The production and the arrangement just required that kind of stuff. And I'd like to just walk through with you just a little bit an overview of the project. Those of you with some audio engineering or production background might be interested in that. And I want to show you what I have here. So this is the project. It's in Logic Pro X. And first of all, I have a few groups of instruments. I have drums, I have guitars, I have bass, I have keyboards, and I have backing tracks, and in the Universe tune case I also have vocals. And each of those tracks, each of those instruments, sometimes is separated into multiple tracks, and it's going into multiple buses. I won't touch too much of that, but you can already see there's a bus for snare, and there are automations on top of that, many actually, and there are buses for toms, for overheads, for hi-hats. I don't use room mics. I'll talk about it in a different video, but I decided to keep control of the drums environment with my own reverbs, so I don't really use the room mics. They also didn't really add a color that I like. And for each group of instruments, like drums, a group of drums, I have also its own bus and its own automation. Same goes for bass, same goes for vocals, and for guitars, I actually have clean guitar and lead guitar, and even in the clean guitar I have a few parts. And then come the keyboards, which is a lot. Tons of pads, tons of different instruments. This is actually the main thing about this kind of production. I really had to synthesize and pre-produce a lot of those synth sounds or the libraries. I use Omnisphere, I use some Contact libraries. I have backing tracks. The reason why I separate keyboards and backing tracks is not because of the mix itself, but because of a live consideration. I want to be able to already mix for the live show with our backing tracks. I'll touch that in a different session. And then we have on top of all some mix buses, some lead buses, and some comps, which is not compression, it's comping. So I separate the comping instruments and the lead instruments in each given moment, and I kind of mix them a bit separately and differently. And then, at least in Universe, the tune, I have different buses for different sections of the piece. So I have one bus for the themes and the solo, and I have one bus for the game parts, because they sound a bit different, they work a bit different, and I have to treat them differently in the mix bus. Another interesting thing about the project is that I use a hybrid of digital and analog modeling plugins. So for example, I have the Fab filter and the isotope neutron. I'll show you. These are very, I would say, analytical kind of tools. They're completely digital. They give you exactly the result you're looking for, and they don't add anything, any color, any harmony. So this is on one hand. On the other hand, I did want to use some kind of analog modeling, because I felt that just using digital plugins makes everything very clear and very precise, which is good, because in this kind of music you have a lot of details and you want the details to come out. But on the other hand, it makes everything sound a little bit sterile, so you have to re-warm it up a little bit with analog modeling, which I like. I use Slide Digital in this case, and that combination is part of what makes the mix work and sound so good.